My name is Paul Borwaller, and I've been in the financial industry for about 30 years now. And most importantly, I'm a father of 7 children, have grandchildren, and just love that. That's the center of what my life is all about: God and family, and then business. And I've been a financial trainer and entrepreneur, but I haven't always been that way. In fact, when I was in my 20s, my wife and I were really struggling financially. I was raised on a farm in a small community, and we were taught, work hard, live within your means, and it'll all work out. And you may relate to that. Maybe you had more advanced training than I did when I was in my 20s. And we had an experience where we just thought, this was at the age of 28. I had done things, been involved in the industry, on different areas of the industry, but I hadn't really broken through and made any progress. In fact, I had struggled tremendously financially trying to figure this out. I had nobody I knew that understood money, that could teach me how to win the game. And at age 28, I just had this experience where I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I became a real estate investor. I acquired about 35 properties in the next 18 months. I had no money, no reason to do it, but I was so hungry to figure it out. I just started reading and training myself and went for it. That then opened me up to having an opportunity at age 32 that changed my life forever. They liked what I had done. They said, come over here and we are going to train you on how to train other people on investing. And that company was called Franklin Covey. Many of you may know this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend this book. But he is a major part of Franklin Covey, thus the Covey portion. And they train people all over the world. It's a worldwide company. And they had me train, and they started to teach me how to think in a way that I had never really been taught how to think. About a year and a half into that experience, so I was 33 years old, they merged together on a project to create financial literacy and training and development in the field with another company. And this company was Rich Dad. You may have seen this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And because I was a trainer and they liked how I could relate and train and so on, they asked me if I wanted to be a part of that project. And I was all in to become a trainer with Rich Dad as well. And I began learning how the wealthy are taught that I never was. And from that point, from that point until now, my life has never been the same. In fact, my finances, although I have learned a tremendous amount through mistakes and others learning, mentors came into my life that taught me how to create something I never thought I really could. I wanted to, but never thought I could. And so as we go through this, I'm going to lay a foundation of the rules of the game. So as you're looking and talking with our people through this process, you're going to find that they're going to go into maybe some financial strategies and tools, specific investment strategies. But I'm going to talk more of a high level of understanding, how do the wealthy think? What are they taught that the middle class is not? So we're going to go through this in writing. We're not going to be all professional on PowerPoint or a presentation. I'm just going to go through this with you. And this is going to be, how are the wealthy taught that the middle class, and what's the difference between the way they're taught and the way I was taught, or maybe the way you were taught. So first thing to understand, and this is something that when I was a trainer, they drilled into me, and they said, Paul, if you're ever going to master the money game, get out of the rat race, you're going to have to understand what your focus needs to be. So growing up, I was taught, get a good job as an employee, or get out there and serve people with your own business. But the business was more like self-employed. I owned my own employment, but guess who my employers were? They were the clients or the people I served. But either way, I had to work. It was all on my shoulders, which work ethic is so critical. But as I got around the others that were financially free, I'm talking people that really knew how to create wealth in their lives, guys, they were just the same as I was. They weren't any smarter. They're no smarter than you. But what the difference is, they're taught how to be good investors, and they taught They were taught how to create businesses. Now, you might be asking, what's the difference between business and self-employment? We're not going to go into that right now. We're just talking high level. But we do want you to understand that as you go forward. And as you learn your journey, what is the difference? So what I learned is that I was putting all of my time into what we call active income. So this is so imperative. All income is derived either as employees, self-employed, business owners, or investors. Now they flip-flop it. I like this because to me, it's a good way to learn this process. But investor and business owner, this on this side is what we would call passive income, meaning once it's established, I just manage the income process, where here, if I stop working, it stops coming in. So that's number one. And that is, how do we go from this side to this side? And most people are looking at it from a standpoint of, well, I have some of my income going into investments, and I would love to be a real business owner and a savvy investor, but I'm just not quite sure how to do that. Now, in order for you to really improve from where you are to where you want to go, the process is the same, no matter who we are and where we start from. By the way, what was so gave me such courage in the beginning was when they taught me how to reach financial goals, they showed me some statistics. And those statistics showed that the vast majority of people who created wealth in their lives started out as middle class or even below poverty in middle class and poor areas. And they became wealthy by just understanding some of these basic principles and then building on that as the foundation. Okay, so understanding that we work, all of our income is derived in one of these four or more of these income quadrants. And the key to the game is moving from the left side to the right side. How do I become a good investor? And how do I become a business owner? Because the foundation of all of it is, how do I create multiple streams of income through assets or businesses or a combination of the two? Now, the second part that they taught me was something we call the financial statement. And in the financial statement, we have our income and we have our expense columns. Then we have our asset and our liability columns. So to look very much similar, the window of our income, the window of our future is derived from here. So the middle class are taught this: go to work, get that job, start that business. And as you start earning income, you're obviously going to have income drop into your bank account, which is your asset column. And then as we are taught, make money. And as we make money, buy stuff, increase our lifestyle. So the vast majority of people increase their lifestyle, which is a home, cars, things. And we increase our lifestyle fairly closely to the level of income that we earn. And these things that we put our money into, because the bank says your biggest asset is, maybe you can finish that, our home. And our home has that, there is a note or a loan attached, or cars, or other things that have liabilities. Even if we pay it off, there are still expenses. Now, that then pulls money into our expense column and out. And this is the cycle that the middle class are taught. Go to work. The more money you have, increase your lifestyle to match it. That then pulls it back into the expense column and out. And that is a cycle that most people are living with. And that's the rat race. Go to work to pay my lifestyle, to pay my bills, go to work to continue to pay my bills, try to save a little, try to get ahead, work hard, and things will work out. Sound familiar? That was where I was at. I was in the middle of it. And they said, if you're ever going to move out of that, you can, by the way, you can succeed, and you can succeed at big levels. But you have to understand that if you're going to do that, it's about creating what we call wealth loops, a cycle of building wealth cycles and wealth loops. So wealth, as they earn their income, again, remember, people that become wealthy are right where you're at. You may be well on your way, or you may be underwater, or you may be somewhere in between. But you can do this. In order for this to happen, as you drop money down here, you have to understand this key component right here. As the money comes down, there are two kinds of assets. The first are what we call non-performing assets, non-performing. The second is what we call performing assets. So here's the definition of a performing versus a non-performing asset. A performing and non-performing, think of active income. If I lose my active income, will it eat me or feed me financially? Will it take money out of my wallet, or will it put money in my wallet if I stop earning income from it? So a home, what does a home do? Now, we need a home. I'm not saying that this isn't the right thing to do. We need a home. We need automobiles to drive. But if we understand it's a non-performing, meaning if I lose my income, it's going to continue to cost me money to have that asset. I have equity, so it is an asset, but non-performing. Performing assets are going to be places I can put my money that if I do lose my income, they're going to either sustain themselves, or I'm going to draw on it. I can draw on it. Okay. Having said that, as we look at the performing and non-performing assets to create wealth, the wealthy keep their non-performing assets at a minimum when it comes to their active income. Now, we don't want to live like misers, but we want to have a spending plan, and we want to be wise, and we want to learn, how do I reduce taxes? How do I have a strategy in the way I handle my money and cash flow? And then I want to keep these expenses, when they're non-performing, as low as I can, and move as much of my money into the performing assets. Performing assets will start creating income in the form of returns, cash flow, which then makes that income here, passive income then flows into the income column. And as the passive income starts creating, they keep it rolling back down into there on different types of strategies that create different income opportunities. What if you, into the future, were in a place that 5 to 10 years from now, you were your own economy? You had created assets that were funneling into themselves and into creating new assets, and you created a loop and a loop and a loop. That's what we're going to teach you. How do you do that? And how do you become, if the market's going crazy, you understand the principles, and you then can take those principles and make decisions at a better level for your family and for your future. So the key is creating these loops. And then as your passive income increases, once it exceeds your living expenses, you are now financially free. Meaning I have passive income that equals my expenses. It may not be a lifestyle of the rich and famous, but again, we're talking about free, how to fill and create a life where I have control over my time and future. So understanding this, keeping our non-performing assets at a minimum, keeping that standard low, increasing cash flow, having that come down into performing assets as they start to create income, roll it back into itself, and or with strategies, having this asset create new assets for me, and wealth loops. We call them wealth loops. And that creates a cycle that creates abundance going forward for you. That's what we want to teach you.
How do you win? How do you look at this? Because I believe everybody here, everyone here, if they're serious like that, can be completely financially independent on this model as a partner in this platform in 5 years, 5 years from today. But you can't do it casually. It won't happen casually. because life will just stay the same. If I don't disrupt things around me, life is going to stay the same. So if I'm going to win the game, two components I need to really get serious about. Number one is my own determination around my own finances. I have got to be that person that lives that way, that's going to create assets, going to get debt free, and I'm going to control what I do with my money. That's number one. I have to get that system in place for myself. And then number two, I have to be determined that I'm going to lead the way in helping other people to do the same thing in their lives. And it takes a determination, it takes a cadence, it takes a conviction, and urgency, an urgency. So when we talk about how to do this, in the financial statement, the way that I have learned how to do this is create systems. Now, you don't have to do it exactly like it's being taught. This is a principally based, focused system. But you're going to have to focus on when I make money and it comes into my income column. For me, Kelly and I, we have a master account. Everything flows into the master account. And then we need to have a system. Remember, guys, systems around money create wealth. Systems around business create success. So I need to have a system around my expense column. I need to have a system around my liability column, and I need to have a system around my assets. How do I build assets? How do I become debt free? How do I handle my spending? Now, where focus goes, energy flows. If you want to get rid of a bad habit, you don't get rid of a bad habit by focusing all your energy on getting rid of a bad habit. How do you get rid of a bad habit? What's the answer? You create a good habit to replace it. You focus on what you do want in your life and you focus on it, and then you put barriers or construct around how am I going to eliminate the bad. So I address both, but I've got to put my energy towards what I'm becoming. I cannot drive in the rearview mirror without crashing over and over and over again. So when you are looking at finance, the same rules apply. When you're looking at personal development, the same rules apply. Money follows your internal world. So if I'm going to get better in my expense area, I need to say, what is it that I want, and productivity and going for it. You know, I find I get caught up on Amazon more when I am not urgent about growing. Anybody relate to what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like I feel like shopping. I feel like buying something. I feel like or doing something. Kel, we just need to get out of town for a little while. I do that too often. We need to get out of town for a little while. I just feel like getting out of town. But unless I am like, man, we need to get to the next stage. We need to go. I need to grow. I need to reach a goal. I need to get something for my family. We need to achieve. And then you don't have that boredom thing kick in. We need to get out of town. We need to do this. We're going after it. That is an inside out job. If I'm going to do something financially that I haven't done, I've got to get engaged into the future of it, not focused on the present past of it. Dr. Joe Dispenza says, if you're going to win, you need to make your future your past. He says most people wake up in their past, and therefore they repeat their past. What does that mean to wake up in your past? If I don't have a clear picture, vision of what I'm going for in the future, my default mechanism is to dwell on the things that have always been the way they are. And so I wake up and my body, my neural system is programmed to wake up experiencing something it's already experienced over and over and over. And therefore I'm destined to repeat my life every day over and over. He says the only way to change that is to make what you're focusing on your past, that you see it so vividly, you're working on it so focused and intentionally that you're waking up with that as your feeling, and it becomes almost like a memory so that it's expected. Financially, when I'm creating systems around this, you're never going to get perfect at it, but we work on it all the time. If I'm focused on all of the stresses of money, then all of the things around money that stress me out are going to be the feeling I always have. And therefore, I'm always going to have problems coming up. I'm always going to have liabilities that I'm dealing with. And so if I can get myself focused on asset and income, income being how do I create more value? How do I go for it? How do I build? Assets meaning how do I get the good things happening at a bigger level? Then it changes the trajectory of the focus of my income. So we want to get what we call the lower law of money done. And that is the management of money already put in play. So if I create a system for this is how Kelly and I teach to do it, get yourself a spending account that is separate from all of the bills, which includes liabilities, debts. And so I don't commingle my money. I'm very clear on what I have allotted for what I'm going to spend and what is needed for the bills. Get your debts on a roll down. Get your debt freedom date so that you know the exact date you are free of debt. Exact date. And get yourself living there, seeing that day. Then there's clarity as to your plan. And then your cash flow that comes down and stays in your asset column, we're dividing into these 4 areas. At 1%, 10,000, it's going to take 72 years because I take the rate of return, divide it into 72, and that tells me how many years it's going to take my money to double. So 10,000 goes into the bank, and then that bank lends it back out. This is how banks make money. That bank lends it back out leverages it, lends it back out in auto loans and credit cards and so on. And then they're making 10% into 72, 7.2 years. They're doubling every 7.2 years. So in 72 years, I go to 20,000, but they've made 640,000. So let's become this bank for ourselves, just going towards the plan. Now, what is the rest of it? Look at the power of this. I see Ian on here. Ian, it looks like you are in a school area, right? Are you in college? Okay. Ian's in college. I assume you're in your early 20s, Ian? All right, we're going to do a little something with Ian. Look at this, you guys. Ian, how old are you? Did you say 20? Ian's a young guy. Holy cow, 20. Ian has 47 years on his traditional path. Who wants to go 47 years before you have any financial security? No, let's do it in 5 to 10. But here's the power of rule of 72, power of time, and power of control. Now, I know we're over time, but I'm going to hit on this. Let's say Ian says, I'm going to start saving $300 a month. No matter what I have to do, I'm going to start saving $300 a month. He has 47 years to go. Let's say, Ian, do you guys realize the average American gets 6 to 8% net return? Do you guys realize that 6 to 8% lifetime? Why? Because as I see volatility, most people are not educated emotionally. They see their money not cooperating. They're not committed. And so they are getting nervous about the markets and they'll shift it. They'll go conservative. They'll pull out the wrong times when the market loses in '08 as an example. But really, as you get older, you can't afford to take the risk. And so you have to go more conservative and therefore your returns go down over time. Whereas in an index strategy, you never have to go conservative because there's a floor. You're always going to get your return, always. At 85 years old, you have the same returns as a 25-year-old, which is beautiful without any increased risk. But let's say he gets 8% return as an average person saving over 300. He's going to have 1.8 million by age 67. That's still all right, right? But if he can learn how to get a 10% return, he's going to have 3.8 million. Do you guys see 2% increased return moves him $2 million higher? But what if Ian's like everybody, hey, cost of living right now, I don't know if I can afford it. He doesn't commit to it, for a year. So he's only going to save for 46 years. Remember, he had 2 or 3.8 million and he waits 1 year. So he only has 46 years. Instead of 3.8 million, he has 3.4. So what does it cost Ian to wait 1 year? It's because he's like, oh, it's only $3,600. It's $400,000 it's costing Ian to wait 1 year to save $300 a month to get those returns. And now 400 divided by 12. So Ian, if you don't start, this is what it's costing you per month to wait 1 year. It's costing Ian $33,000 a month. Per week, it's costing Ian $8,300 a week to not save $300 a month. It's how if he works 40 hours a week, it's costing him dollars an hour to wait.
There's tools that we're going to show you and how to use them. But more importantly is the understanding. If we can give you understanding of how to create this kind of a system in your life, and then focus on how do you create multiple streams of income. In today's world, you can go down the road of, I'm going to just get really good at my job, and you should. All of us should be really good at what we do. Keep my focus on that, increase my income, keep my expenses low, performing assets, lifestyle down, and everything above this I'm using to create wealth cycles for me into the future. That's what's going to create the freedom that goes. Or I say, I'm going to do that and be good, but I'm going to learn how to create multiple streams of income while I do it, which will increase cash flow, use that cash flow to create wealth loops for my family into the future. So as we do this, as we teach you some of these principles, we want you to know the objective is not just to, hey, set up a new account, save money, put it here or there. It is to teach you how to create a future that you feel like I can control the decisions and feel like I know how to make those decisions going forward to create strength for my family. So we look forward to working with you.